Hello everyone, it's Glenda and welcome back to my channel, Creative Grandma. I hope everyone is having a happy crochet or knitting day. This video is about a book I found when I'm downsizing my craft room. Now, if you watched a couple of my last videos, you know that my grandson Cody is helping me downsize. The third floor, I have tote after tote and I'm trying to downsize because sometimes less is more. I want to get down to the point where I just have my yarn wall and maybe some yarn in my cabinets, but I am finding things I forgot I even bought. And this video is going to be a long video because I found this book and I wanted to share it. It's a very extensive book. 1,000 knit and crochet patterns, and I just wanted to talk to you about the book, and I'm going to give you a sneak peek of these patterns in this book because it's so unique of a book. It's called 1,000 Japanese Knitting and Crochet Stitches, the ultimate Bible for needlecraft enthusiasts. And I bought this and I had it downstairs and I was looking through it. Now, me personally, some of the crochet patterns I have seen before, and some of them are really unique. Now, I had a little trouble with the book, and I'm going to give you really detailed information about this book. So, because there's 1,000 different patterns, you might want to get yourself a nice hot or cold refreshment. Sit there, share a few moments with me, well, more than a few moments, and let me show you these unique patterns, because we are always searching for just the right crochet stitch pattern, or maybe even the perfect knit stitch pattern for a project you want to make. And with over 1,000 pattern stitches, oh my goodness. Now, I'll say most of the book, I'd say 80% of the book is knitting stitches, and about 20% is crochet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the crochet section because I am a crochet channel. So you can watch it and see all the crochet stitches. And then if you're not interested in the knitting stitches, you can just turn the video off. But if you like to knit and crochet both, you don't want to miss what is inside this book. Now I'm going to show you the cover. Let me try to get it up there close so you can see. This is what the cover looks like. Now, I cannot find the price on this book, and I bought it quite a while ago, maybe 6 months ago at Barnes & Noble's. So your store might have it, it may not. Now, let me get the ISBN number right up to the camera. Let me get that up there. Can you see that okay? Right there is the ISBN number. If you search for, oh, there's the price, $29.99. I needed my camera, and I looked at my monitor which magnifies it, and then I could see it. So sorry about that. Now the book is $29.99, and to me, I bought the book because I love reference books. I love these type of books. Any crochet stitch book I buy, unless it's one I already have. Now the thing about this book is it has no written instructions. It's all diagrams and a coding system for the knitting stitches. So I'll explain that in the book. So let's get started. I'm going to start with the crochet stitches. Now the first page, I'm going to show you the actual diagrams and show you the stitches. Then the rest of the book, I'm going to hide the diagrams because that's kind of like copyright. You don't want to give everything in the book away. So I'm only going to show you the patterns. And then if you want all the other information, you're going to have to buy the book. So let's go ahead and get started. So as you can see, this is a pretty thick book. It's about 1 inch thick, so quite a few patterns. And then this is the cover of the book. So if you're looking online, you'll be able to see this book, and hopefully you can find it by that ISBN number. So let's open it up to the crochet stitches. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to show you this way. These are the crochet stitches. This is how you can compare what you're going to get. This section here, where my finger is, this larger section, is knitting stitches. And then this section is the crochet stitches. So a little bit cheated on our crochet stitches compared to knitting. But let's get started. So when you hit the crochet section, it's going to say crochet symbols and method. It's going to explain a little bit about the crochet stitches that you're going to make. So a little detailed information about those stitches with diagrams and drawings. So I'm just going to show you the first page, and I want to show you exactly what I mean. So let me zoom up just a little bit more. So this is the crochet section. So the first crochet pattern is starting at 701. So that means there's 700 knitting patterns and there's 300 crochet patterns. So that is quite a few if you knit and crochet both. Now here it's saying the repeat is 8 stitches and 12 rows. So when you're looking at the diagram, the thing that kind of messed me up a little, I count the chains and I start writing the instructions by hand by seeing what the diagram is. Now, if you can follow a diagram, then this is the perfect book for you. If you need written instructions, then I'm going to say this book is not for you. But in this, you're going to see the repeat of 8 stitches. So it does not give you the plus. So when you see this 8 stitches, you have to look at the diagram closely and see where the first stitch starts, where it ends, and it ends on the second stitch. And then it's starting on the first stitch. So every 8 stitches, so it will end on this very last stitch, but you have to add this beginning chain here. So that's 4 chains, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So it would be a multiple of 8 stitches plus 4. So you have to remember that when you're looking at these diagrams. Now, the repeat is correct. It's just when you do your starting chain, if you do a repeat of 8 stitches and you forget this starting chain, or if the repeat ends over here and you might have 2, maybe 3 stitches left, you have to add the stitches on the end and you have to add the stitches in the beginning to make sure you have the correct stitch count for your foundation chain. So that was the one thing that you really have to pay attention to when you're looking at this book. But the diagrams, these are excellent diagrams. I can see each chain. So if you're doing a stitch pattern for the first time following a book like this, just make sure that your multiple is correct and you have those extra stitches that you need for the beginning and ending. So again, this book is going to give you the color photo. It's going to give you a stitch number, but not the stitch name. And it's going to give you a beautiful illustrated diagram of those stitches. So I'm going to zoom back out. I'm going to cover up those diagrams because this is a copyrighted book. I just am giving you a sneak peek and general information about what you're getting. So, okay, we have 300 crochet stitches to go through. So this is the first 3. And this section is called Grid, Pineapple, and Fan Patterns. So those are the first 3 stitch patterns. So here are the next 3. So I'm not going into a lot of detail. I'm just going to show you the picture. But you can see these are more of a fillet type crochet mesh pattern. And they're similar, but yet they're different. Now with some of these stitch patterns, I noticed the background in some of the photos are almost the same color as the yarn. And I wish they would have used a more high contrast color behind the stitch pattern so you could see them a little bit better. Because this white on white, a little hard to see up here. These aren't too bad, so those are 3 more of the patterns. Then we have patterns 714 to 717, 718 to 720, 721 to 724. So hopefully you can see these okay. Then we have crochet patterns 725 to 727, 728 to 731, and these are beautiful shell stitch patterns. Then we have 732 to 734. Now these samples, it looks like they used a ribbon style yarn, so it would probably look a little bit different when you're using yarn. I mean, this one, I can see the shape. If you use yarn, it's probably going to be similar. So for these 2 patterns, I see more of the ribbon than I see of the actual stitch pattern. So it would have been nice if they used all yarn so you could see those stitches more clearly. Then we have stitches 735 to 738. Again, more shell stitch patterns. 739 to 741. 742 to 745, 746 to 748, and I absolutely love 747, so I may have to just try that pattern. I just thought that was so gorgeous. 749 to 752. Now, it might be hard to see some of these stitches because the book is kind of large. I really hope you can see these okay. 753 to 755, 756 to 759. Then we have 760 to 762, 763 to 766. Now, who would have thought there would be so many different shell stitch patterns? 767 to 769, 770 to 773. Are you seeing anything that you like yet? Then we have 774 to 776. And again, this is green with a green background. Now, if they would have a white background underneath these photos, you would really see these stitches a lot better. 777 to 780. 781 to 783, and now we're getting away from the shell stitches into just regular stitch patterns. 784 to 787. So if you see a pattern you like, you can write that pattern down, so if you decide to get the book, you know exactly which patterns you enjoyed. Then we have pattern 788 to 790, and this one is pretty for a crochet pattern. Beautiful texture in that one, so that's one I like. 791 to 794. Then we have patterns 795 to 797. So you can see where they're getting into some unique stitch patterns here. Then we have patterns 798 to 801. 802 to 804, and here's another one that I thought was pretty if you like just a little bit of laciness to your designs. Patterns 805 to 808. So let me know if you're seeing some patterns that you never seen before. Patterns 809 to 811, 812 to 815. Patterns 816 to 819, where they're showing you some color, two-tone coloring, where you're changing colors and creating texture and patterns with color. 820 to 823, 824 to 826. Now this pattern here I've been trying to figure out. It's where you do 2 rows in the same direction and then you come back and do 2 rows in the opposite direction. And I just did not figure out this pattern yet, but I am still working on it. I just think it's so beautiful. 827 to 830. Then we have 831 to 834, 835 to 838, 839 to 841. Now some of these patterns I have seen before, so some of these you will probably already know, but some of them are going to be new to you. 842 to 845, and this one is another one that I thought was so pretty. So if you're looking through this video and you see a stitch pattern you like, write in the comments section which stitch pattern you like best. Then we have 846 to 849, 850 to 853, 854 to 856. So we still have about 150 crochet stitches to go. 857 to 860, 861 to 863, 864 to 866. And if you like to create geometrical shapes and have a really unique design, look at these stitch patterns. 867 to 869. And now we're back into some shell and net patterns, 870 to 872. Now this one I thought was pretty as well, but because it has an orange background, it's hard to see where the stitches start and stop. So I'm just going to hold that up. 873 to 875, 876 to 879. 880 to 882, and again you can see how beautiful some of these stitch patterns are. Some are very unique. 883 to 886, 887 to 889. Look at some of these. 890 to 893. Now these are really pretty. 894 to 896, 897 to 900, And then we're getting into some beautiful ripple patterns, 901 to 903, 904 to 907, 908 to 911, 912 to 915. I thought this one was pretty. 916 to 918, 919 to 922, 923 to 926. So again, you're seeing a little bit more lacy patterns, which these would be perfect for shawls. 927 to 930, 931 to 934, 935 to 938, 939 to 942, 943 to 946, 947 to 950. So how many stitches are you seeing so far that you think you would enjoy making? So now it's giving you a section on crocheted edgings. So if you're a person who's always searching for that perfect border for a project, here's some wonderful ideas for edgings for your crochet projects. We have patterns 951 to 954, 955 to 959, 960 to 965, 966 to 971. And if you're watching this whole entire video, can you see what a great reference book this would be when you're searching for a perfect pattern or edging? 972 to 977, 978 to 983. Isn't this pretty? I could see little colored flowers. That would be so pretty, and maybe a self-striping yarn where the colors change and you have so many in one color and then so many in another. Very pretty. 984 to 989, 990 to 995, and then the crochet section ends with 996 to 1000. So now I'm just going to give you a look at the additional knitting symbols. It gives you symbols. This is how you're going to read the knitting instructions. It will give symbols with codes, and then you have to look on here and it tells you what you do. So I know nothing about knitting, but that is the end of the crochet section. So now if you're a knitter and you want to see the beginning of the book, so let's go ahead and go to the front of the book and I'll show you all those gorgeous knitting patterns. So I'm starting at the beginning of the book with the knit patterns, but what I want to tell my crocheters out there, if you're still watching this video, is when you look at these knit patterns, it can give you ideas of crochet patterns. If you like to experiment with creating your own crochet stitch patterns, I can see this as you're double crocheting or triple crocheting in a couple rows below, single crochet across here. And I know that there's some books out there that take knitting patterns and designers sit and they try to create crochet patterns that look like knit. So you can find some of those books out there as well. And then here are the stitch guides where they use symbols, and all this information about what these symbols mean are in the book. But I am just going to show you the actual stitch patterns, and I have to tell you, there's a lot of knitting patterns in here, and I envy knitters. These patterns are simply gorgeous. So let's go ahead and get started. There is quite a few. These are the first 3 knit patterns, 1 through 3. Then you have stitch pattern 4 through 6. And these are what they're calling all over stitch patterns. This is patterns 7 through 10, 11 through 13. Now this bottom one's a little dark, not sure if you can see that. 14 through 17. And I could see some beautiful knit sweaters, and some of these I think are just basic stitch patterns that are all over stitch patterns. When we get towards the back of the knitting patterns, they get a lot more difficult. So if there's anyone out there that likes a nice challenge, this is a perfect book for you. These are the patterns 18 through 20. 21 through 24, and I know these darker photos are extremely hard to see. It's really hard to see that one. Even with it in my face looking at it, it's hard to see. Patterns 25 through 27, and again, those darker patterns a little harder to see. 28 through 31. Isn't this one pretty? Oh, that is so beautiful. 32 through 34, 35 through 38, 39 through 42. Now I know there's a lot of stitch patterns to go through, so I'm sorry, I'm just showing you the photos and trying to go through the book as quickly as I can. Knit patterns 43 through 46, 47 through 50, 51 through 54, 55 through 57, 58 through 61, 62 to 64, 65 through 68. Look at this one, and I like this one too. So many pretty knit patterns in this book. 69 through 71. Let me lift this page, try to get a better view of that darker one on the bottom. 72 through 75, 76 to 78, 79 to 82, 83 through 85, and you can see how beautiful those color changes make a stitch look. 86 through 89, 90 to 92, 93 to 96, 97 through 99, 100 to 103, 104 to 106. Isn't this pretty? Oh my goodness, so many knit patterns in here that I love. I need to experiment and see if I can turn some of these into crochet patterns. 107 to 110, 111 to 113, 114 to 117, 118 to 120. Now I can see some of these patterns would look simply gorgeous as sweaters, even a baby Afghan. Look how precious. 121 to 124, 125 to 127. Like I said, there's 1,000 different stitch patterns in this book. 128 to 131, 132 to 134, 135 to 138, 139 to 141, 142 to 145. Are you a knitter? Are you getting inspired by these patterns? I just think some of these stitch patterns are so unique, and I just can't believe anybody can stitch these patterns. They're so elegant, so elaborate, just beautiful patterns. 146 to 148, 149 to 152, 153 to 155. We only have several hundred more to go. So I hope you're enjoying seeing all these stitch patterns. I just can't believe somebody could sit and create 700 different knitting patterns that are just so gorgeous. 156 to 159, 160 to 162, 163 to 166. Sorry you're seeing my hand in every clip of the video. Sorry about that. 167 to 169, 170 to 172, 173 to 175. Now, because I'm not a knitter, I don't know how many of these knit patterns might already be in the USA. So let me know in the comments section, if you're a knitter, how many of these patterns you've seen before, because I really thought this was a really unique resource book. 176 to 179, 180 to 182, 183 to 186, 187 to 189, 190 to 193, 194 to 196. I thought this was pretty. This would look wonderful in an Afghan. I can just see so many beautiful, delicate little baby blankets. These are just really pretty. 197 to 200, 201 to 203. Look how elaborate that is. 204 to 207, 208 to 210, 211 to 214, 215 to 217, 218 to 221, 222 to 224, and again, look how pretty this one is. Oh my goodness. Oh, I just wish I could knit so bad. That is just so pretty, simple but yet elegant. 225 to 227, 228 to 230, 231 to 234, 235 to 237, 238 to 241, 242 to 244, 245 to 248, 249 to 252. Now these two almost look alike. I was trying to see the difference, so let me hold that up just a little bit. So this looks like the center here, and then this looks like the lacy part. It just looks like it's offset a little bit, so I'm not sure. It has a different stitch multiple, so it must be different. 253 to 256, 257 to 259, 260 to 263, 264 to 267, and this would be pretty if it was turned into a crochet pattern. I'm going to have to look more closely at this stitch pattern. 268 to 271, 272 to 275. I know, there's hundreds and hundreds more. 276 to 278, 279 to 282. Here's another pretty one. 279 to 282, 283 to 286, 287 to 290, 291 to 294, 295 to 298, 299 to 302, 303 to 306, 307 to 310, 311 to 313. Isn't that one gorgeous? Oh, so pretty. I see so many knit patterns that I love, and I don't know how to knit. And this is intimidating looking at these knit stitch patterns. 314 to 317, 318 to 320, 321 to 324, 325 to 326, 328 to 331, 332 to 334, 335 to 338. Now, if you're someone who loves to do afghans or put designs into your sweater, this is called the Nordic Fair Isle and Aran Stitches. This is 339 to 341. 342 to 344. And what I like to tell people is, even though these are knit patterns, you could turn these into crochet patterns. You can chart this out or use the diagrams. They give the diagrams here to know where to place those stitches. 345 to 347, 348 to 351, 352 to 354, 355 to 357, 358 and 360, and again, all these patterns are charted out. 361 to 363, 364 to 366. I can see so many wonderful knit patterns made with this resource book. 367 to 370, 371 to 373. 374 to 376. Are you seeing any patterns that you like? 377 to 379, 380 to 383, 384 to 386, 387 to 390, 391 to 393, and I believe these are little squirrels. 394 to 397, 398 to 400. Now I can see some beautiful sweaters with these designs. 401 to 405 to 407, 408 to 411. I really love these cable type patterns that put texture on your knit designs. 412 to 414, 415 to 418, 419 to 421, and again that dark one down at the bottom, hopefully you can see that. 422 to 425, 426 to 428, 429 to 432, 433 to 435, 436 to 439, and I know this dark blue, they might be a little bit harder to see. 440 to 442, and up there's that top photo. 443 to 446. Can you believe we just went over 446 knit patterns? 447 to 449, 450 to 452, 453 to 455, and again those darker photos, hopefully you can see the pattern. 456 to 459. And I'm sorry if I'm going too fast. It's just nice to browse and look at the photos of these patterns. 460 to 462, 463 to 466, 467 to 469, 470 to 473, 474 to 476, 477 to 479, 480 to 482, and as I'm looking at all these knit patterns, I'm wishing more crochet patterns look knit. If there was a way that we could create more beautiful crochet stitch patterns. 480 to 482, 483 to 486, 487 to 489, 490 to 493, and again, look at these two. Absolutely love these two, and I could see these maybe being turned into crochet patterns. Those two are gorgeous. 494 to 496, 497 to 500. Now we only have 200 more knit stitches to look at. So if you need a break, just pause the video, take a little break, and come back and see the other 200 knit stitch patterns. 501 to 503, 504 to 507, 508 to 510, 511 to 514, 515 to 517, 518 to 521. And as I'm looking through this book, I'm thinking, who sat down and did all these stitch samples? Can you imagine 1,000 different stitch samples? Oh my! 522 to 524, 525 to 528, and this is pretty. This almost looks like a crochet pattern. 529 to 531, 532 to 535, 536 to 538, 539 to 542. Here's another pretty one that almost looks crocheted. 543 to 545, 546 to 549, 550 to 552, 553 to 556. Now we're going to start viewing the checks, colorful cables, and mosaic stitches. 557 to 559, 560 to 563, 564 to 566, 567 to 570, 571 to 573, 574 to 577, 578 to 580, 581 to 584, 585 to 587. This one's pretty. 588 to 591, 592 to 594, some geometric shapes. Wow, look at these colorways. 595 to 598, 599 to 601. So we're down to only 100 patterns left. 599 to 601. So we only have 100 more knit patterns to go. 602 to 605, 606 to 608, 609 to 612. Isn't this one pretty? Almost looks like the houndstooth. 613 to 615, 616 to 619, 620 to 623, 624 to 627, 628 to 631. Now we're back to some all over lacy type stitch patterns. 632 to 635, 636 to 638. Oh, look at these. 639 to 642, 643 to 645, 646 to 649, 650 to 653, 654 to 657. Here's some pretty ones. 658 to 661, 662 to 665, 666 to 668, 669 to 672, 673 to 676. About 25 more patterns to go. 677 to 680, 681 to 684, 685 to 688. This one's really pretty. 689 to 692, 693 to 696, 697 to 700. We finally got through all those knit stitch patterns. So then we're back to the crochet section that I showed first, those beautiful crochet stitches. So that was it. I know that it was quite a long video, but there's 1,000 patterns in this book. So on the description of the book, it does say it's for experienced knitter crocheters seeking infinite variety. 1,000 Japanese knitting and crochet stitches is a treasure trove of patterns and motifs, loved by knitters the world over since its original Japanese publication in 1992. This classic is at last available in English. This beautiful dictionary includes 700 knitting patterns and 300 crochet stitch patterns. So again, it has steps and diagrams showing how to execute over 60 different knitting stitches and over 40 different crochet stitches. So again, here is all the information. That is the ISBN number. Hopefully you can see that. And I purchased this for full price at $29.99 at Barnes & Nobles. But if you use that ISBN number, you may find it on Amazon for a lot less because it is an older book. But I just think this book is a must-have reference book for anybody who crochets and knits. But that's just my opinion. You have to use your own opinion based on the 1,000 stitches that I showed you. And again, I'm sorry the video was a little longer than I wanted, but it's just so hard when you do a book review and a sneak peek, and there's that many patterns in the book. I hope you enjoyed browsing through the video and seeing all the different stitch patterns. So now it's up to you if this is something that you would like to have in your stitch library. So I hope this book has got you inspired to try something new or to challenge yourself. So until next time, happy crocheting, everyone.